Hello and welcome to Visual Novices, where we discuss any and all forms of Japanese games. From Nintendo to Sony, and from Type Moon to 7th Expansion, if you name it, we'll play it. So, one of the biggest crazes in the video game industry right now is the popularity and success of Japanese video games that have come out. From Final Fantasy XV in late last year, Resident Evil 7 in the beginning of this year, and even Nier Automata just a few months ago, no one can deny that there have been a lot of really high-quality Japanese games that have been coming to the Western market over this past year. And these games are selling like crazy. The one that has really caused a huge stir, however, is the most recent of these games to come out, and that is Persona 5. Now, the Persona series has always been pretty popular, and I had heard a lot about how great Persona 4 was, but because of many circumstances, this was my first Persona game. I do technically own Persona 4 Golden, as I picked it up on a sale once during a PlayStation Network sale about 2 or 3 years ago now, but that was until I realized the game was for the PS Vita. And, I don't own a PS Vita. So, because of that, this was my first Persona game. And despite my initial hesitation to pre-order the game, I'm sure glad as hell that I did. Upon the first day of release, when my copy showed up to my house, I was completely stoked. I had read up a bunch about the game and how it played. I watched video upon video about the game, getting myself informed, and the music. Oh, God, the music. I listened to that shit on repeat, non-stop, every day. Then, finally, the day arrived. And oh my God, I was not disappointed. Having not been a big fan of turn-based action games in the past, and only having just gotten over my disliking for the genre more recently, I was still a little worried that I would not really find the combat to be that interesting. Boy, was I wrong. I have never felt this satisfied with a turn-based combat game. Having never played any of the games beforehand, I was kind of worried that I would, suck at playing for a while since I had not done it before. Despite my initial feelings, however, I felt extremely in control at all times. And using enemies' weaknesses to my advantage meant that I could go through enemies that I've already beaten a lot without it really taking up a large chunk of time. This made combat way smoother, and I didn't feel like I was being suddenly taken out of the game just because of the combat. That, plus how the stealth mechanics work with the combat, is beautifully done. And whoever came up with the idea really needs to get a promotion ASAP. Not only was the combat itself great, but the bosses were so satisfying to defeat. I never found myself having too much trouble with any of the bosses, save one or two, but it always felt fair and fun to take them down. Plus, the risk-reward factor that came along with sending one of my teammates out to sneak up on an enemy and take them by surprise, or do something else to cause them to be stunned, made the combat feel like I was on edge. But once I survived the amount of time I was at a disadvantage, the reward for doing that made it oh so worth it. Plus, the fleshed out characters behind the bosses made it feel like overcoming an obstacle that has been in my way since the first day I met them in the game. Speaking of characters, I really found myself liking the Phantom Thieves, and I really found them to be great. Each person had a differing personality, and I felt myself becoming close with the characters. The game certainly gave me plenty of time to do so as well. With well over 100 hours of gameplay, I think each character has plenty of time to be fleshed out. Finally, the story itself is really great in my opinion, though I could be feeling that way from a personal standpoint. I went through a somewhat similar situation to the main character, and I know the feeling of having been suddenly taken from a place you're familiar with, put somewhere that's completely new to you, and, kind of feeling like you're a burden to everyone around you. Though that's a story for another time. The beginning few hours of the game are depressing as hell, and it really is hard not to feel a lot of sympathy for the main character when everyone treats him like shit because of what happened to him. Some people might find the beginning a bit too depressing, but I felt that it really set the game up well for the later parts, when the main character makes a lot more friends, and, well, everything is a lot more upbeat. The contrast shows how far you have come as a player, and in the end, it made me more involved. Ultimately, despite me being a noob for the Persona games, I am really glad I picked it up. This was yet another game that opened my eyes to the possibilities of great turn-based combat games, and it gave me a great sense of accomplishment from playing it. I can't wait to see what the rest of the series has in store, and maybe now, since I've seen how great this game was, I can finally pick up a PS Vita and play my copy of Persona 4 Golden. Well, now if only I could afford a PS Vita. Hey, thanks for watching. It's been a while since I last made a video on this channel, and I had quite a few videos that I've wanted to do over the past few months. Unfortunately, every time I wanted to make them, I just, well, couldn't find the time or the motivation to do so. I had actually planned to put this video out way closer to the initial release date of Persona 5, and I was even planning on getting a jump on the other people making the videos by putting this out earlier than the others. But despite my plans, that did not work out, as you can probably tell, considering it has been 2.5 months since that day. I even had to go back through this script and rewrite a bunch, because I had written this right after I beat Persona 5 in April, and I had mentioned it being a new game, and Nier Automata having been released the month before, and it totally threw me off when I went to narrate and found those things. Anyways, Visual Novices was a series of videos that I had planned on making back quite a while ago. And I'd figure, well, why not start doing it now? A friend and I had come up with the idea, and he actually ended up coming up with the name. And because of that, well, I'm using it. I plan to do the series even more, and I have a lot of Japanese games saved up to look at. I bought a crap ton of games around the same time that I got Persona 5, and I kinda had to put a bunch of them on hold for a while during the time that I played Persona. So, look forward to the next review. I have a lot of stuff I want to do, and it's gonna be fun. Hopefully, it won't take me nearly a year this time, however. Thanks again, and this is Kyle signing off from Visual Novices.